Happy Friday, beautiful people, and thank you so much for joining us here on Great Day, Louisiana. I'm your host, Malik Mingo. It is April 29th, 2022. Happy first day of Jazz Fest. I'm coming to you from outside the fairgrounds right now because in just hours from now, hundreds of artists are going to be taking the stage after the festival was canceled for 2 years due to COVID. Now, for some of those artists, it's going to be their first year taking the Jazz Fest stages, but for a select few, they have been performing at Jazz Fest since the festival began decades ago. One of those is local drummer Johnny Vadakovich, and recently I got the opportunity to sit down with him to talk about that first festival, how the festival has evolved, and what is he most excited for as the festival returns starting today. Let's get to know him. Jazz drummer Johnny Ivakovich is enjoying a rehearsal at the New Orleans Jazz Museum. He is preparing for his return to the Jazz Fest stage after a 2-year hiatus due to the festival being canceled. These performances are going to be special for Ivakovich because his history with the festival goes back to when it first began in 1970. Ivakovich found his love for drumming around 9 or 10 years old. He says it was something that came natural to him.
I always beat on stuff around the house. You know, my grandma gave me the luxury of pots and pans and an AM radio.
When Ivakovich turned 12, he asked his mom for his first set of drums. She said she would only buy them if he got lessons, so he enrolled in some at Campbell Brothers Music Store in the 60s.
Up above the music store, they had these little tiny rooms, and you pay, it was only about $250, $350 a half-hour lesson, you know.
After taking lessons, he continued to play drums throughout his childhood. When it came time for high school, he auditioned for a local band and ended up making it in. After graduating high school, Ivakovich had 3 options: go into the military, start working, or go to college. This was around the time of the Vietnam War, so he thought he was going to be drafted and sent in auditions for military bands. But he also auditioned for music schools and ended up going to Loyola, which is where he graduated from with a music degree.
Moved out to Vegas for a while with some different, things, and came back to New Orleans. You know, in the early 70s, I got a great gig at the Playboy Club, house drummer, 6 nights a week, playing behind acts, playing with a jazz band.
His gig at the Playboy Club lasted for years. The band was under the direction of Al Boletto. He was the one who actually introduced Ivakovich to jazz promoter George Wein, the creator of Jazz Fest. They were invited to a show one night that Ivakovich says was a seed being planted into the community to see if a jazz fest could work.
You know, people most identified with was older, traditional music. So George wanted to see experimentally what kind of things people would be attending to.
In April of 1970, Wein put on the first Jazz Fest, and of course, Ivakovich was asked to play. He says he wasn't optimistic about the festival, but he was willing to give it a try.
I remember standing on that stage, and it was just, some regular scaffolding with wooden boards across it, no tent, scaffolding, man. This is all very 1 or 2 microphones, 2 little speakers out here. Nothing sophisticated. It costs maybe 15, 20, I don't know, it costs nothing to get in.
The first festival was full of music from local artists throughout the weekend. Artists like Fats Domino, The Meters, and the Preservation Hall Band took the stage. Ivakovich played sets with Al Boletto and backed up other artists like Bobby Hackett and Willie T and the Wild Magnolias. He was about 21 years old when he played the first festival. According to Jazz Fest, around 350 people attended its inaugural year, and it was held around the Municipal Auditorium.
You never had the Superdome. You never had the Interstate. You had the Municipal Auditorium, in a racetrack.
After a few years by the Municipal Auditorium, the festival moved to the fairgrounds a few years later. Ivakovich says he has several favorite memories from Jazz Fest over the years. One he recalled immediately was when he was on stage with Willie T. While he was playing, mics started falling on him, and before you know it, feathers started falling on him as well from Mardi Gras Indians. For many, it sounds like chaos, but for Ivakovich, he felt like he was in a kaleidoscope.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen, and it was just exciting.
How have you seen the festival evolve over the decade?
Well, absolutely for the better. It freaks me out that it lasted that long, you know, that it's lasting this long, and that it will always evolve into something. It will always last now. It was born, you know. You know, as long as people are playing music around here, that festival will be here, because now the festival has become a major part of the body of our community.
This year, Ivakovich has several gigs doing Jazz Fest, but one performance he is most excited for is his One with Astro project. He has been playing with this band for almost 50 years.
It's a jazz band, yeah. I would say it's modern jazz for sure, you know.
Ivakovich is also excited to see some of the other original Jazz Fest performers like Jermaine Basil and George Porter Jr. of The Meters.
I feel in a special elite group of people, you know, you know, who made it from the pioneer stage to the where we are now stage, you know, which is pretty cool, you know.
When COVID canceled Jazz Fest twice, you could see how it affected people. Artists were not able to make money, and fans weren't able to enjoy live music. For Johnny, he said it was much deeper than that.
You really do feel it in your heart. It goes a lot more than physical, you know, how much money, I need my money, I'm gonna miss my money. But man, you got this real sunken feeling in your heart, you know, when you got allergies and no Jazz Fest. Oh, golly, man, that's not right. That's dirty.
Why do you love doing what you do?
Why? Wow. Wow. Wow, because it really makes my heart explode. I could jump in the circle, you know. It makes me laugh. It makes me have fun, you know. It makes me cry. It makes everything, you know. It breaks my heart, mends my heart.
I want to thank our partners over at Raising Cane's for sponsoring this segment. And hey, if you would like to check out Johnny Vadakovich, he will be playing at 2:50 this afternoon under the WWOZ Jazz tent. So definitely check him out like I plan on doing.